Hello, welcome to my cake kitchen. If we're meeting for the first time, hello there. My name is Gladys. I am a baker and cake artist, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. And today we are making simple banana chocolate oat muffins. Right now, if you've been here before, I am a full gluten baker. I don't delve into the non-gluten stuff, but I have an issue developing in my life and I am tempted to try some gluten-free oats muffins, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. It is my first recipe and my first try at this kind of recipe. So like most of you who have started baking, and sometimes the temptation is to pick up a new recipe online that you're not sure where to start, we're going to try this. If it fails, great. That would be great results, because you know what, we will learn better and not do that for next time. But if it turns out great, oh, that's all on me. So welcome to the channel, and today we're just going to be delving straight in. I'm working on very limited time, but the channel is popular for bringing you very in-depth baking tutorials from start to finish, where you will see me start a whole baking process, talking you through all the ingredients and all that is necessary that you need to know, which is kind of like a baking resource for you to take with you into your own home kitchen. So welcome to the channel, and we're just going to be delving straight into this one. I'm not hanging around too long. I have some pain in my rib area, but we move. So I'm gonna turn my oven on to 180 degrees C, which I will turn down. The ingredients for this recipe includes, I'll put the proper description and details in the description box later. I didn't do that sooner. Sometimes I put that in the community post for you to see, which I'll update in a bit. But right now my goal was to get here and give you the information. So let's not be distracted by what's in the chat over there. Let's dive straight into this, right? We're doing this with a simple hand mixer. We have a hand mixer. So if you're a baker and you do not have all the necessary tools to undertake baking, look, all you need is a hand mixer. A hand mixer, you can get one on a very affordable price. I've actually updated some of this information on my Amazon shop front, a link of which is in my description box. Of course, I do get a commission, but that's not the reason. For long before I could earn a commission, my goal was always to make sure that you have useful information that will assist you with your baking. So you want to check that information out. In the meantime, we're going to be doing this using a hand mixer. So I am going to plug my hand mixer in, but I should say I am not a fan favorite of a hand mixer simply because the speed is hard to control. But if you're just starting baking, look, it's a great way to start doing what you need to do. So please go ahead. Can you hear me? Look, today I'm doing something different. Not that you asked, but I am trying to clip some of these videos for short form, if you like. So I'm using a third-party app. So this is not going live. There is a sort of app through which this is being recorded, so I can keep a copy and edit later. So I do not have the same conveniences that I normally have. So apparently you can all hear me and you can all see me, so we're good to go. Like I said, this is a new recipe and I won't pretend to have all the details on top of my head. I'll leave all of it in the description box for later. But I'm getting a mixing bowl. Okay, Phyllis. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with my chat. Sophie, thank you. Sophie and Phyllis, hiya. Hello, all of you. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I know many people from all over the world are watching. What is the sound quality like? Because I think I delayed the stream simply because I was faffing about with trying to get a microphone sorted. And that took a little bit of time, so I thought, let's just get on with it. So what's the sound quality like? Hello, Phyllis. Hiya. Is it your first time here? Right. I was banging on about people, I'm not with it today. Can you tell? Right. Right. Okay. Right. I needed, okay. So for our ingredients, right, we have a one pot method, if you like. It's supposed to be one pot, but because I am having to measure the ingredients and everything, we have a few here. But hey, you know what I'm saying, right? So the good thing about this recipe is we're not using wheat flour, we're using oats flour. And the oat flour, thank you Phyllis, thank you darling, the oat flour I milled myself. So I became a traditional person, and today I decided to mill my own oats flour, which is here. I milled it from quick oats that I had. Actually, I buy oats and I tell myself I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to eat breakfast in the morning, and then breakfast comes and I'm not a breakfast person. And if you actually want to get me on a breakfast, get me a hot croissant, okay? Not that you asked, but that is just by the way. So I had some oats left over and I thought I'm going to put it to good use, and I'm going to make some oats muffins. And that's because my son, who enjoys breakfast, loves his bread in the morning, which isn't super healthy for him. Doesn't have much fiber in there, especially the short bought bread. He likes a chocolate sandwich. So I'm just trying to give him something of a favorite, which is a chocolate cake, but make it a little healthier. I guess my heart is set in good stead. Whether I will achieve my goals or not, that is neither here nor there. But join me today whilst we make that effort. So I'm just a mama trying to do something right. In the meantime, we're going to start this. We don't have sugar in this recipe. We have dark maple syrup, which is what's going to be our sugar. And then some banana to bring some sweetness to it. I have some yogurt. We have vanilla here. I have some eggs, and of course we have the oat flour that is mixed with cocoa powder. I'll leave exact descriptions in the description box for later. In the meantime, we're going to start with our eggs, which is going in here, and I am going to put that quickly. And now I'm just doing that to kind of aerate it a little bit. I am just mixing this in to aerate the eggs a little bit, because if we had sugar, that would help form the base for the structure of the cake. But of course, we don't have sugar here. Now that goes in maple syrup, and we have our yogurt, which is sort of the, what would you call this, the liquid ingredients. Do you know sugar is considered a liquid ingredient because of its moisture quality to the cake? So I'm just, you can do the cake as spatula. It's fairly simple. So I've just whipped that in to sort of homogenize the mixture here for me. And with all that mixed together, I have butter, melted butter. It's just normal butter that I have melted. You can make this from brown butter also by caramelizing the butter over heat. It brings an exact nice flavor to your cake if you like. But there we are. And with that done, this is the oats flour. It has a pinch of salt and baking powder. It has a pinch of salt and cocoa powder in there mixed together. Like I said, it's a new recipe, so the details I don't have on top of my head, so I'll leave all the information about that in the description box. Into that, I have added just half a teaspoonful of baking soda and 3/4 of a teaspoonful of baking powder. That should help with the rise of the cake. I don't know why I forgot to put that in earlier, but I've added that now. So there you have it. I'm going to mix that together. And actually, I should say, why am I being so clumsy? Okay, so we are mixing all of that together. Now, there is a way I would have loved to do this, if you like, but because it's a new recipe, I don't know. I wanted to add some more things like chocolate chips on the top and make it all nice, but it's a new recipe. So when you're trying something new, you don't want to be that person who throws in a lot of things because you don't know how it will work out. I have never baked with oats, but from the research I find that there are great results to get out of using oats. So I mean, this at best will be a simple banana and oats muffin, cupcake, whatever. The difference between muffin and cupcakes is the moisture element and also the fat in it. Cupcakes are a little more tender because they take the form of cake, whilst muffins are a little denser. I find the batter here is a little bit dense, but I don't know if that is what it's supposed to be like. So we will see. I am tempted to add a little bit of milk in there, but let's see. A tablespoonful of milk just to kind of even it out. And I think that is just it. So I'm going to mix that in, and we are going to distribute this nicely into there. I don't mind if these are a little bit denser or overworked a little bit more than they should, and that is simply because this is oats flour and it's a muffin. I am not looking for a delicate soft textured cake. I mean, if you've been on this channel, we bang on about delicate. If you've been on this channel, we bang on about delicate and soft texture and a nice mouthfeel and all that good stuff. Today, that's not one of my goals at all. I just want a very moist, nice tasting cake. What do you call it? We don't measure vanilla over here, but hey, I'll leave the right measurements down in the description box when I come to it, so never you mind. Vanilla is to a cake as what do you call it? Mayo is to a burger. You can't get wrong results with that. So let's go ahead and spoon this quickly into our, what I'm actually looking for. I can't believe I didn't get this right. Yeah, it's good. Right. That works. Right. I've got myself some warm water into which I am dipping my scoop. And with that, a scoop in here. I can see bits because I milled the oats myself. I can see bits in there. I don't know how I feel about that. And I don't know if this little guy is going to like that very much, but hey, it's neither here nor there. Let's just get to it. The butter is also a little bit thicker than I would have wanted, but like I said, if it all goes wrong, at least we know this recipe isn't a great one. And then you get to also see, as a complete beginner, what it is like for you to source a recipe online that you can find either reliable or not. In fact, I develop my own recipes, but where I have had to use a different recipe, I will tell you all about it. Except this one, I basically just sourced on, I can't even remember. And then I wrote it down and I scaled the ingredient quantities. So, and I hadn't taken time. I mean, as a beginner, some of the few tips you should consider when you source a recipe is to take time, read and understand the recipe. You know you've read, but reading and understanding is another thing, because there are some specific details along the process, as in the making process, that you would need to look closely at. and follow for best results. And sometimes just glancing or glimming, like skimming through the information isn't very useful. And I say that to say I have just skimmed through the information, so by default I don't even know what I'm doing to start with. Okay, so if we get this right, hey, it means the only thing I brought to the table today is my experience of baking over the years, which means I know how to put a batter together, but it doesn't necessarily mean I know everything. Okay, so I hope that is helpful in some way and helps you to have a bit of confidence and to be easy on yourself when you are in your own baking kitchen. In the meantime, if you're joining me in the chat, where are you joining me from and which part of our world are you? I am baking right here from my UK based home kitchen. Now, with all that said and done, I think we have exactly 15 cupcakes here. They are all distributed evenly. We're going to pop them in the oven. They should bake between 18 to 22 minutes in between there. So let's just dip this in quickly. We'll wipe our worktop and we'll come back and check on our cupcakes. But we'll also be moving on to a few other things and I'll show you in a moment. Now, whether these are cupcakes or muffins, we'll find out in a moment. There you go. I have a lemon cake that I made. Oh, okay. That I need to cut up. Have you got any ideas what we should do with this cake? Look, my neighbors have had enough cake from me. In fact, at this point, they must think of me as some weirdo who keeps showing up with cake. And they must be wondering. So, let's see how many servings we will get from this cake if we were... Oh, God, what am I doing? That is... Look. Okay, that's a nice slice. If you've been here, this was a cake I baked on Alive. This is a lemon cake I baked from Alive. Filled it with lemon curd flavored sweet buttercream, lemon curd, and then we finished it off with a covering of meringue that is toasted. It is lush. This was made on Saturday and I kept it completely covered in the fridge. And sometimes when I make these cakes, I'm like, I'm gonna give it away, and then I finish and then I move on to something else, and it's not clear to me where exactly and who, because my neighbors have had, look, all the cakes I bake here end up going to the neighbors. Okay, so I'm sure they have had enough of me and cakes. So if you have any ideas what we should be doing with this cake, leave them in the chat. I'm thinking of slicing these and packaging them nicely, and then in the next couple of videos, the other cakes I will be making, I would cut them up also, and then we'll put those together, and then we'll give it to the ambulance drivers. Now yes, I think I have an ambulance, as in EMT depot round behind me, somewhere near. So I really want to do that. I think we can easily, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can get like 8 chunky slices. If I can get about 12, I have packaging. I can package it and go give them away. But what I don't want to do is leave them too long, because if I leave them too long, they will end up drying out completely. So that is just my concern. So if you have any suggestions beside the fact that it is lush and has to be eaten, let me know. Right now, that is a very lush lemon cake, isn't it? So I think 1/3 of the portion has been eaten already. But look at that cake. Oh, that's a good cake, right? Right. So perhaps let's cut into it and see how many slices we can get out of this. This cake, this knife doesn't give me a lot of control. Yeah, thank you. Oh, Laura, darling, how are you? Thank you. Yeah, I think that is what we are going to do. In the meantime, there are people in my house that are probably feeling a little bit mad that the cake is going somewhere. So is it Cedra, English or Spanish? Well, is it me? Are you talking to me? Okay, so there was Sophie, Brandon, Phyllis, there is Laura. Okay, yeah, I think that is supposed to be the idea, like give it away to somebody who is very deserving. I don't want to give people dry cake, and I don't want the cake to dry. It is still a very moist cake. If I have to give it away, I have to do it ASAP. As in by morning, this cake should be gone. I was wary of freezing it because of the meringue, but the meringue hasn't bled at all. And it's a lovely cake. So even if I say so myself, it is super tasty. Oh, okay. Youth. Okay, that's lovely. I don't have any youth centers around me that I know of. But I was thinking of, say, if I could do, I thought I would take it to an A&E to see the, what do you call it? The collection of professionals in the cubicle, especially at A&E. But my worry is that because that is such a large number of people, I may not have enough to go around, and I don't want people to be left out. So I will do that when I have, say, a large batch that I want to give away. But ambulance depots, because they work in shifts, a sizable option number would serve a particular shift. And then hopefully, maybe if I gain some rapport with them. Bear with me. I think I can see a neighbor here. Oh, they're gone. There's a neighbor of mine that I see all the time, and actually she hasn't had a cake from me before. But yes, I don't want to take it to a place where there's like a big number of people at a time where some will miss out. But that said, let's get a smaller knife and then cut into this, and then we'll see. And normally when cutting a cake, cutting it this way is not the best to give you the best servings. But because these are very individualized, and I just want them to be coffee servings for the individuals who may be having them, I have cut them this way. And I do not want to cut them any smaller than they need to be. So we have 2, 4, 6, we have 7 slices out of this. And that is, we're talking very huge slices here. We are having like coffee size set portions of, let's see. Coffee size portions. I mean, if I went to my local garden shop and I had a slice of cake like this, I think I'll be paying about minimum £4.20 for a slice of cake like this. So that is a great slice. That is 7 slices. I have known in the past that this 8-inch slice will give me similar, will be about 12 to 14 servings anyway. So I am not particularly surprised because there's 7 and then 8, and then there was a third of it. So we have about 12 large servings for this 8-inch. It's an 8-inch 2-layered cake. If you want to know the details about this cake, I completed all of this on a very recent live, which is still up on the channel. You can check that out. I give you all the details about everything you need to know about it. But whilst I love to eat cake, and I have eaten cake alive, today I'm not feeling like eating cake because I've had too much cake, okay? and I am just trying to be a little more healthy. Does that say cake is not healthy? No, a good cake is good. Let's eat some cake. Let them eat cake, okay? Just saying. But yeah, wherever you are, it's lovely to have you. It's lovely to have you. And yes, we have some cake. So certainly we've made a decision. I am going to be taking this. There are 7 slices, include this 8. I'm probably going to give this to people in my house, okay? That is my son and his dad, to be perfectly honest. My son doesn't like chocolate cake. He's very particular. He doesn't like a lemon cake. He's very particular. He likes a nice slice of chocolate cake. But with 7 slices, if I wanted the cake, chocolate cakes, okay, right, I will answer you in a moment if you're in the chat. Now, whilst you're at it, right, if you're in the chat, do me a favor, a small favor that a small YouTuber like myself would ask of you. You want to check the like button on this video and give us a thumbs up. I believe you're having a great experience. Otherwise, if you're not, just voice your opinion, okay? If you're not having fun and you don't care for what we're doing, just let us know in the chat, okay? But otherwise, do us a favor, hit the like button so we know you are here with us. And if there is something you want me to do to improve the chat, I will surely take that on board. If you want to know the ingredient details and everything, I will leave that in the community post and also in the description box when I come to updating my description box later when this session is done. In the meantime, there is a question in the chat, and this is from Nanny May. Did I get the name right? I am so sorry. I'm terrible with names. It's something I have discussed here before. But Nanny or Nanny May, thank you for your question. Nanny is asking, do you add coffee or sour cream to your chocolate cakes? I do both, actually. I do both. Is it a necessity? Yes and no. Coffee, warm coffee or strong coffee enhances the flavor of your chocolate. It doesn't turn your cake to a coffee cake or anything. The amount of coffee you need is very little, and it actually enhances the flavor of your chocolate. It kind of blooms and brings the chocolate flavor more, intensifies it, if that's it's something to say. And then sour cream also, not only does it add to the body of the cake, it also adds to how rich the cake is. So can you substitute sour cream for yogurt in certain recipes? Surely you can. One is definitely not for the other. So just because you probably want to substitute one for the other, as in some recipes will call for yogurt, some recipes will call for sour cream. Sour cream and yogurt can be used interchangeably depending on the recipe, but they are different things. But if you've been on this channel, you will find that I have used sour cream. Sour cream has a very creamy and mouthfeel. It does have a tangy aftertaste, right? Nothing like you would have with, what do you call it, buttermilk. But adding sour cream, especially if the recipe calls for it, is a good thing. I hope that answers your question. I should ask Nanny, why do you ask? Is it out of curiosity? Are you a baker? Because your question was quite specific, so I'm just interested in knowing why you asked. But in the meantime, we've sliced our cake, and our muffins have been baking for, is it 13 minutes now? Let me just have a peek and see where we are at. I am the sort of baker who just likes to look into my oven, except my oven surface, the glass is dark, so I can't see into it. And remember, I did say I have some pain in my rib area. I am doped on some painkillers so that I can feel better enough to be here with you today. Let's wipe the top here, and we have some coffee. some lemon cake here. That is coffee slices. Let's see. Oh, Nenny. Okay, great. Thank you for answering that. So I was asking Nenny why her question was very specific, and Nenny is saying she's tried some chocolate recipes and they've not come out quite as great. First of all, where are you located? Which part of the world are you? Are you in the UK here, or you're somewhere else? I'll be interested to know, because even if I do have some helpful tips, having the understanding of how you source your ingredients and how the ingredients are presented to you based on your location will help me kind of give you some ideas. But I'll say, if you check on this channel, we have a simple chocolate cake recipe here. If you check the pre-edited videos, you will find some of those. But if you don't fancy it, if the information is very fast moving and you lack understanding of some of that information, oh, you're in the US, okay, I'll come to that. So check the live. So if you go to the homepage and you click on live, you should see a ton of videos. I think on average, I don't do my lives consistently on a daily basis, which I am hoping to change. So stick around for more live videos. However, if you, on average, I'm here up to about, let's say, 3 days a week, if you like. So I have a ton of live videos. And actually, the hope of the live videos here is to bring the baking experience to you with all the details and information that it requires without much editing. That is the purpose of the live. YouTube doesn't allow like a very intense editing, if you like. So you get to see me. It's almost like a bake with me session where you are invited to my kitchen and you undertake the baking with me. The truth is, if you don't have the time to invest, it's a boring series, as in once you invest in the live, watch me and you move on to something else. But the good thing is that the videos are still available. So if you really want to learn, the good thing is those videos stay on the channel as some sort of educational resources. So if you really want to nail down some baking process and you're not sure where to go, stick on the live sessions. Go down. We have a ton of chocolate recipes. My recipe for chocolate, actually, I don't know. I'll come down to what your preferences about a chocolate cake is, right? But my chocolate cake recipe was adapted for a complete beginner. It is very beginner friendly, but people's preferences are very specific. So Nenny, I'll ask again, what are your preferences in terms of a cake? What is the problem you are having with the chocolate cake? Is it that the chocolate cake is not coming out well? Is it too doughy? Is it too light? Does it fall apart? What is the issue with your recipe and what are your results? Just so that I can see if I can tweak that around for you. Being in the US means you are likely to have similar ingredients like the UK. But I mean, your kind of location means you probably have a lot of access to more flour than we do, because in the UK we have self-raising flour.
Yeah.
Here.
Ooh.
In the UK we have
Thank you.
self-raising
Spoon.
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
We have self-raising flour and plain flour. That's at the core of it. The thing with cake flour and all of that stuff is completely different over here, because we do not bleach our flour over here. So our cake flour is still like, it's close in nature to our self-raising flour. A testing I have done on this channel, but let's not kind of veer off. Let's stay on the subject of you and your chocolate cake. My chocolate cake recipe is developed for a complete beginner, and it actually, the same recipe and similar process and details will yield you cupcakes. It's right on the channel. Check on the especially if you are trying to derive a result that you are not getting, you probably could do with just sitting with a particular detail and process just so you understand it. So check on the live session. I think I have thumbnails indicating the kind of tutorial you will find. So have a look and see the chocolate cake recipe once, and let me know what you think. I've never used cake flour. All purpose. Okay, so if you end all purpose. So if you're using all purpose, right? So Nanny, okay, high altitude, which also plays a part. How does that affect anything? Belligerent question, but I have no idea. So maybe you can inform me about that, right? But yes, if you're using plain flour, right? So talk me through your process. Is it the chocolate cake you derive from creaming, as in you cream the ingredients and then add the dry, which is your flour and cocoa powder, or it is using the liquid method and the dry ingredient? Because the liquid method is when you add your sugar, your other liquids like your chocolate, I said chocolate, the liquid base. So whether the liquid base is coffee or whatever that is, mixing one part of the liquid ingredients and then pouring that into your flour. That is sort of what we call the one bowl method, similar to the process I started with these gluten-free oats muffins. So, or what is your method? Is your method the other way, where you cream the sugar and the butter and then pour the flour in? Because I'm kind of intrigued. Okay, you use the liquid method. Okay, so if you don't mind, Nanny, we're trying to problem solve, and this is kind of a free session. Consider it a consultation to help you kind of fix your problem. So what are your ingredient listing? If you can just put them in the chat, I can be able, because normally before I recommend you trying something else, I like to look at the problem you are having first, and then we can take it apart from there. And then if I can make recommendations for you to maintain the same process you are having, then great. But if not, you can try something else. So you always have the option to try the recipes on the channel. They are super beginner friendly, and the results are right on the channel. Every time I have undertaken a bake like that, I have put it on the channel, and you will see me start the bake. These are the reasons why I do the lives, because they kind of inspires confidence a little bit. So if you put the information about your ingredient listing in the chat, I will be able to look at it and tell you where some of the problem may come from. Maybe it may not be the recipe itself. It may be method, and it may also be, as you said, the altitude problem, as you rightly mentioned over there. So put it in there if you don't mind. But let's have a look in here and see. I'm the sort of baker who does it, who goes and then opens my oven. So let's see. Oh, okay. Right. Super impressed. Okay. Wow. Okay. Right. So the only reason right, sorry, I was just looking, for some reason I'm just looking at my, right. So you know what they say, stick that in, and if it comes out, yep, it's come out with just a small crumb, which is fine, because so it's exactly 1633. So this baked exactly 22 minutes. I told you the time was 18 to 22 minutes, and we baked. And you see, that is the goal for these recipes. When I undertake the live, it is for you to see the recipe and for you to see how the results come out. I mean, I told you I have never baked an oats muffin before. I don't have no clue how these things work. And then I put the recipe together. Okay, moment of truth. It is not super sweet. It is not super sweet at all, because I milled because I milled my own flour, I can feel the chewy bits of the oats in it a little bit. So if this was for my son that I said I was baking for, I don't think he will be too keen on them. Are they still good texture-wise? Yes. It is intensely chocolatey. Parker, darling. So if I was serving this to my kid, you know what I'll do? I'll cut it into two and I'll spread some chocolate in it. So perhaps we should do that. I have some Nutella here. Parker, how did the exam go? Welcome back. Parker is a friend of the channel, and she had an exam earlier this week that she told us about. So what I'm trying to do is, if you're looking for a very healthy, that is considering if you don't consider oats unhealthy, this is actually a very good recipe. It's actually come out well. Strangely, it is a good cake. It's a good muffin. The texture is very muffin-like. There's not much sugar in it. So for someone who has enjoyed eating so much sugar, this is rather unusually tasting for me, I should be honest. Congratulations, Parker. Parker took an exam. Is it chemistry, if I remember? And she aced it. Well done, darling. Me? That's a good chocolate cake. What? It's not chocolate here. It's an oats muffin. It's a good oats muffin. With chocolate spread on it. I mean, if my son would have this with banana in the morning, that would be amazing, because it has maple syrup instead of sugar. It has banana. It has oats. So consider it some sort of chocolate oats pancake. Right. Parker is asking what's different about this. What's different is that we didn't use regular wheat flour. I milled myself homemade oats flour from Quick Oats, which is right here. Here, right? And then instead of sugar, because sugar does add sweetness, refined sugar that is, adds sweetness and body to the cake, the structure of the cake, depending on what method you use. But I replaced that with maple syrup, dark maple syrup. So it is not a clean, I wouldn't call it a super clean, health appropriate muffin, but it is way better than the regular chocolate cake you will be having with so much refined sugar. And my hope was to test this recipe so that it is a breakfast option for my son, and I think I have kind of hacked it. I might probably in future try it with coconut sugar, which I have. This is what you call a pantry staple, if you like, because you already have the elements in your home fridge, and all you have to do is put it together. It is a good cake. Because if you break into it, look, it is still moist. The chocolatey comes through it. Initially, when I tasted it, I thought the bits from the oats flour were sort of distracting, but not so much, especially when you have the spread of chocolate sauce on it. So this with some whole bananas and fruits in the morning will be a great option. I don't know if I'm kidding myself about that, but look at the size of these muffins, right? Now, it would be better if I had a proper muffin liner, you know, them rustic brown ones. But I don't. I have these cupcake ones. And these were sort of going to be a test recipe for me to try and see what these are like. And I'm really happy with the results. I essentially winged it because I wasn't really sure about this. It's my very first time ever baking, because I have baked gluten-free cakes, chocolate cakes with gluten flour, short ball gluten flour, but this is my first time making it from homemade or home milled flour. So I am really happy with the result. So with that said, we don't have any we're not going to have any buttercream or anything on top of these. Our cupcakes are nicely baked. I have already dug into one. If you have further baking related questions, leave them in the chat for me. I will answer them as we go along. We have 7 slices of chocolate lemon cake that has to go out today or tomorrow. I have to find someone and be good to them, if you like. But otherwise, I am just super excited to be here. And Parker, congratulations again. Nanny was asking me a few questions in the chat about her cake. Did I miss something? No, I haven't missed anything. Right. Okay, I'm just looking at Nanny's information here. If I get really quiet, bear with me. So Nanny has 290 grams of all-purpose flour, 62 grams of cocoa powder. Let's see, granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, teaspoon, 1 cup of coffee, 1 cup of sour cream, 2 full egg, 1 yolk. Right, let's see. In the UK, I am inclined to use, so there's 250 coffee, which is fine. The proportion of coffee and sour cream, let's see, I have a recipe on top of my head, so I'm trying to kind of quickly determine the ratios here. So 1 cup of coffee to 1 cup of coffee here to the sugar, which is fine, sour cream. Sweetheart, I can't see your fat ingredients. Where is the fat? Do we have butter here or oil? Nanny, I can't see your fat ingredient. I mean, eggs do bring some sort of fat element here, but I'm looking at your recipe and I can't see fat. So I suspect, I'm going to make a huge guess. Correct me if I am wrong. I suspect when you bake your cake, it comes out a little bit dense and it's not as delicate as you would like it. It is dense and it is slightly crumbly and it lacks a bit of structure and looks almost dry. Am I correct? Am I correct? Right. So you know what? So stick with the recipe because the proportions are okay. So for all of you in the chat, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening. Thank you. If you're wondering what we're doing right now, we are trying to troubleshoot a recipe. So if you're a baker who has issues with a recipe and you want to have an understanding and you're having problems, come into the chat, bring your recipe along, and then put it in the chat and I can help you answer it. So Nanny out here is in the US. She recognizes there are some issues with her bake, and then I'm trying to assist her. The amount of, baking is about what you call ratios and proportions. Ingredients are not just derived for deriving sake. You have to understand the ratios of ingredients and how they marry to give you the result. So by looking at the recipe itself, I can almost guess what are some of the problems she would have. I mean, if you want a muffin-like dense texture to a cake, if you eliminate the oil, then that may be a thing. However, oil plays a good part. Not only does oil bring a tenderizing and moisturizing quality to the cake, it also helps to bring some sort of fine delicateness to the structure of the cake, depending on what oil or fat you're using. Over here, Nanny, you're missing oil. So if you want flavor, because you're using the because you're using the liquid method, oil melted fat doesn't really make a difference. But what makes the difference? It doesn't make a difference to the structure in terms of what you choose. What will make a difference to determine what option you're going for here is flavor. Butter has superior flavor compared to other oil options. And in terms of oil or liquid fat here, we're talking flavorless canola or vegetable oil here, right? If you throw in olive oil in that, you're going to kind of bring a different flavor to the cake, or coconut oil that you do not want. The texture is also affected by the kind of oil. So liquid fat here, Nanny, if you're going to make a change, I will encourage you to introduce some liquid fat in this specific recipe here. Don't change. Let's see. So there's 219 grams of all-purpose flour. There's 62 grams of cocoa. Yes, because the cocoa is has a flour element to it. The amount of cocoa and flour should almost come together to form a proportion of your ingredients. So the amount of flour, sir, you are noisy. Yeah, I can hear you, right? So the amount of flour to the ratio of sugar here, fantastic. In fact, if you want to bring flavor to your cake, I would say split the sugar for partly granulated sugar and partly brown sugar. But don't go do that just yet. When I make the recommendation, stick with the specific recommendation and let's start with that. And then after that, you can change whatever you need to change, because I've always said a good recipe is the recipe you know, that you understand, that you can adapt to suit you. Do you know what I mean? So which is why I was trying to tell you, instead of encouraging you to go and source my recipe, it's always an option for you to consider. However, your best option is to stick with what you already have. So we have all-purpose flour and cocoa powder put together with the sugar. We're good over there. The baking soda, and do we have baking soda? 1 teaspoon. Let's look at the teaspoon and then I can tell you if 1 teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder. Right. I will say 1 teaspoon of baking soda is a lot for the quantity we are looking at. That's a lot, because then if you're not careful, you'll end up with a cardboard like mouthfeel to your cake. So what I will say is that reduce your either one, because the reason why, if the question is, if you're asking me right now, what is the reason why you have a baking soda and baking powder, is to bring balance. a lot of baking soda will give you a metal aftertaste. So having balance of both means they work together to still give you a lift. But 2 teaspoonfuls of baking soda, that's too much, especially for the ratio and quantities we're looking here. So you are looking at 15 grams of rising agent. That is way too much, and you're still having a dense cake. I would say reduce it to 1 teaspoon, which is 5. Reduce it by 5 mils to start with, right? So have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoonful of baking powder. If I were you though, I would have gone for 1 teaspoon baking soda or 1 teaspoon of either the powder. But because baking powder stands out, is almost easy and sometimes can be double action, I'll go for 1 teaspoon baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So you have a total quantity of 1.5 instead of 3, because at the moment you have 3, but push comes to shove, if you are trying to kind of figure out the texture, mind you, I don't have your recipe in front of me, so I am only making this based on experience and information of the science. So to be safe, go for 2 tablespoonfuls, as in 1 tablespoonful baking soda, 1 tablespoonful baking powder, right? But the other thing, let them remain the same. A pinch of salt. The salt doesn't have to be very accurate. And then you have 1/2 cup of you have 1 cup of coffee, which is 250 mils of coffee. That is fine. 1/2 cup of sour cream. Let's see. Mind you, ingredients by volume when you're using cups don't measure the same when we're talking dry and liquid ingredients. So you know what, sweetheart, if you want to get better at better results with your baking, just invest in a scale so that you can get yourself your weight, the weight of your ingredients, okay? But I have the cups to hand, so at least I can make some recommendations. So you have 125 mils of sour cream, and then you have 2 full eggs, 2 tablespoonfuls. Yeah, you know what? Just add 225 to 250 mils of oil, and then reduce your rising agent, and I think that's your problem solved. But then again, how do you mix your ingredient? Do you do the dry and then pour the other ingredients in? If that is the case, then yeah, just add your oil. You need 225 to 250 grams. For the Coca-Cola, I say Coca-Cola. So for the coffee, right? Here's something that people don't tell you. One last thing, right? You are using coffee. Sometimes to be able to get a good chocolate flavor, as in for the chocolate to cut through the cake properly, so that when it finishes baking, because a chocolate cake sits on a spectrum, right? Sometimes you break into the cake and all you can feel or taste is this chocolate, right? And that varies on individual preferences, okay? So Nenny, sometimes I find that when you develop a recipe like that, or you pick a recipe like yours, the amount of chocolate sometimes doesn't come through, and then when you finish the bake, it's almost like you can almost see the texture. You can see the gluten texture of the cake without the chocolatiness, right? So here's a small recommendation. Probably increase your cocoa powder. If you're using cocoa powder, increase it by another 40 grams. And also, instead of hot boiling coffee, just I'm kind of working this in my, instead of hot boiling coffee, replace the hot boiling coffee with a cup of Coca-Cola or any soda, right? And then mix your coffee into the soda. So it's sort of a coffee made with soda. It will enhance the flavor and texture of your chocolate cake. That's a tip. That's a pro tip from my kitchen that I'm giving to you. So instead of water, just get yourself either Coca-Cola, any sort of diet cola will be fine. don't go for, say, your tango or orange flavored. Go for regular dark cola. You Americans like to call it soda. We call it Coca-Cola, or a soft drink, a fizzy drink. So get yourself a Coca-Cola and just warm it up in a microwave or a heat source. Pour yourself imagine trying to make yourself a cup of coffee, the 250 grams of coffee, except instead of using water, just replace the water with soda, which is Coca-Cola here, and just add the coffee, and then it will be fizzy, but it improves the texture and mouthfeel of your chocolate cake. So the changes include leave everything the same, add 225 to 250 grams of oil, increase your cocoa powder, as in your cocoa chocolate powder, by another 40 grams, or scrap that all together and use what do you call it, chocolate bars. But you know what, I don't want to fiddle with your recipe a lot. Just stick with what you have. Just increase the cocoa powder by 40 grams, introduce 225 mils of oil, flavorless canola or vegetable oil, or the same quantity in butter, but melt the butter. So melted butter or oil should be fine, and replace the water in your coffee with a fizzy drink, which is a soda. I'm trying to calibrate the American pronunciation and the British, but I hope that has solved your problem. Nanny, come back here and tell us the results of your bake, okay? Please, 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 please. We want to know. We want to hear you. And you can email me the results if you care. If you look on the home page, I have a link to my website. There's a contact form. You can just link that information there. But you don't have to do all of that. You can just join the community here. Come back in our group chat and tell us what the result is. I am sure other people will be excited or interested in knowing what these recommendations have yielded for you. And yes, I hope that is super helpful. For those of you in the chat, if you do have baking problems and you need some help, don't hesitate to let us know. And I think we should make this a session where we'll come back and fix your baking recipe issues. What do you think? Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you, darling, and all the best. And yeah, that's our muffins done for today. Somebody is going to have fun. I'm moving on to the next thing, and I'll see you in my next life.